Hello and welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. Today's episode is my answering questions and responding to the Feel Great, Lose Weight method group coaching ladies who have come to the end of week 3. So we are halfway through our group coaching, and this purpose of this podcast episode and any of the previous and future episodes responding to my wonderful community of ladies is as a result of their weekly check-in. Their weekly check-in is where they answer questions on a form that helps them to reflect on their week, recognize their wins, notice where their challenges have been and how to overcome them, and for me to help set themselves up for a positive week ahead, as well as the support from me. They have the support from the community, which has really proven its worth this week. The ladies have really supported each other, and it's made a huge difference in the adherence of them sticking to all their targets and doing all the things they need to do in order to feel good and benefit their health. Now, along with it being end of week 3, some of the ladies have uploaded progress photos, which is like halfway from their start point. Not all the ladies decided to do this, and that's fine. But from the pictures that I've seen, there is already considerable differences visibly. And it really does highlight the point that I want to start off this podcast with, is that your scale weight isn't always representative of your loss in body fat. And sometimes in the earlier stages or in the shorter term, your scale weight may not even move very much, but it doesn't mean that you're not losing body fat. And you need to remember that your scale weight measures your total body weight, and that is fat, muscle, water, vital organs. There's lots going into it. There's lots going into your total body weight. And the pictures is a great way to measure progress, because I get to look visually and notice the changes in my clients' physiques and how they're looking. And the pictures are very worth using. Now, over the long term, the scale weight and loss in body fat will eventually match. But sometimes we're all individuals. Not everyone responds as quickly to other people on the scales. So if you're on your own health and fitness journey and you're looking to lose weight and you're not currently using progress photos, I would really recommend that you start taking them. I use front, side, and back, and it really does help manage progress. And see that progress. Now, I'm going to go through in this podcast episode, I'm going to start with going through some of the wins. Then I'm going to touch on some of the challenges, and then I'm going to answer any questions and any topics that come up. So whether you're on my group coaching program or not, you will find this podcast episode really beneficial. We're going to be talking about menstrual cycle and the effect on your weight loss or weight gain. I'm going to talk about weekend calories and managing your weekends. And I'm going to talk about the quality of your nutrition and why it's important, and not just sticking to a calorie target. And I'm going to work through it. So I'm going to start with the wins. So let's start with Carolyn. This is a really big win from Carolyn, because this week, with the help of her lovely daughter, she decided to sort out her wardrobe and get rid of all the clothes that were too tight, that didn't fit her anymore, or were dated, and they were just taking up space in her wardrobe. Now, these clothes, now you might be listening to this and think, oh God, I've got clothes in my wardrobe that no longer fit me, but I'm hoping to diet into them. And the thing I would say about that is, when you're working towards a weight loss goal, it's really important to approach your weight loss goal and your health goal from a compassionate place, and one of self-care, and sometimes trying to diet yourself into clothes that you had from 5-10 years ago, maybe when you got married even, is not going to make you feel good. And you need to recognize that your body may have changed. If you've had children, if you're going through menopause, or you're training and you're exercising a lot more, your body shape's going to change. And so the clothes that once fit you may no longer fit you. And hanging on to them, if it isn't making you feel good about yourself, get rid of them. They're not serving you, they're not helping you, and they're certainly not motivating you to make the progress that you want, especially if you've been hanging on to them for years and you still can't fit into them. And so, Carolyn getting rid of those clothes was a really, really big step. She's given them to charity. The clothes weren't making her feel good about herself. And now that she's sorted out her wardrobe, everything in her wardrobe feels nice. And this is really, really important because it leads me on to talking and touching lightly on your body image. And your body image is how you think, feel, and perceive yourself to look. And it doesn't always represent your actual external appearance. You know, sometimes you might say, I feel fat, but actually nothing's changed in your body. You just may have eaten a bigger meal, or perhaps you're, feeling a little bit bloated, or perhaps it's time of the month and you just don't feel your normal self. It doesn't mean that you actually look different, you just feel it. And this is what body image does. And to support a healthy, positive body image, we want to do things that make us feel good. And trying to squeeze and fit your body into clothes that don't fit you isn't going to make you feel good. And if you wear clothes that fit your body like they should do, it's going to make you feel and most likely look a whole lot better. So supporting a healthy body image is really important. Now, does that mean that if, Carolyn adheres to all her targets, we're in this for the long term, she knows this, it might be a 6-week group coaching program, there will be options to continue, but we'll talk about that another time. But even if she continues on her own, she's learning the tools to be able to maintain and continue making the progress that she wants. And in time to come, she may buy new clothes, which is really rewarding and are really appreciative of the progress that she's going to make. But in the immediate time, wearing clothes that fit you, that you feel good in, is really, really important. And it will help you make other positive choices to support your health and your goal. We never want to shame ourselves into change. We always want to make change from a good place, from a positive place. Now, Amber, this week, she's working hard. She's got a young family. Steps can sometimes be a challenge to do, but this week her win was getting out in the pouring rain. She put a coat on and she got out and she got her steps in. She's really noticing and enjoying the positive effects of that are having a knock-on effect from her taking care of her health on her mental health. And it's really important to emphasize that you will start feeling good from taking care of your health straight away. The physiological and the physical changes may take time, but the mental benefits are huge. And when you feel good, you're more likely going to continue doing the things that will support your physical and physiological health. So this is really, really great to hear. And Amber also recognizing that it's a marathon, not a sprint, in taking care of her health. And in previous times, this is something maybe Amber may have done, was gone for quick fixes, fast solutions, and all the other methods. But when you realize that you can make sustainable long-term change, it's really encouraging. I've looked at Amber's pictures and there are visible differences in her figure and her progress, which is really, really encouraging. Claire has celebrated her birthday and her wedding anniversary this week. She's managed to stay on top of her food choices and she feels really happy with the choices she made and she didn't feel deprived. Her scale weight is going in the right direction and her clothes feel looser. And this is music to my ears because it proves that you can enjoy celebrations and social occasions and still be mindful of your goal and still enjoy yourself. Doesn't have to be one or the other. Rebecca has stuck to her calories and her protein target, and she's feeling really proud. And you should absolutely feel proud, Rebecca. There was one afternoon on a Saturday where it was a little bit stressful and she ate a little bit more than planned. But what I want to really emphasize here is stress eating or emotional eating is very apparent and experienced by many of us. And we all have times where we may turn to food as a source of comfort or to reduce feelings of stress. And finding ways outside of food to manage and comfort us is really important. And I will be recording a podcast episode on this separately. And for my clients, they have an education series, and it's the next one that I will be releasing in their education series. I did touch on it in both my podcast and my education series about the differences between overeating and binge eating and what those differences are. And I do touch on emotional eating in that in both those things. So if you haven't yet listened to it, please do. Podcast episode off the top of my head, maybe 26 or 27, but it is called Overeating versus Binge Eating. So go check it out. And also sticking to protein is a huge achievement, because most diets prior to having the knowledge and education from coaching are very low in protein. And protein is the most important macronutrient, it benefits our long-term health, helps us maintain muscle, which supports our health and aging and menopause. And also, in terms of dieting, protein will keep us fuller for longer. So it makes sense to eat plenty of it. Tara has managed all her steps, which are challenging for Tara. She leads a busy life. And she has pretty much achieved all her steps apart from one day. And just a reminder that steps are taken as an average over the week. So although you may have a daily target, it's a daily average target. And there are always going to be days where some days you have more time and you can get out for longer walks, or your general daily movement is higher. And some days steps are going to be lower. But what you're looking at is the average over time and making sure that you're hitting the minimum requirement to support overall health. Vicky, her win this week is getting to bed consistently at the same time each evening. And you might be asking yourself, well, how is that a win? What's that got to do with health and weight loss? And it has everything to do with health and weight loss, and having sufficient sleep and setting yourself a bedtime and having a routine with that same bedtime is not only going to regulate your circadian rhythm, it's also going to help you in terms of your health and your weight loss goal. Because if you're not getting enough sleep, it will impact, or very highly impact, your mood, your energy, and the action you take as a result of feeling low mood and low energy. And it can often lead to eating more because you're feeling low energy. So your body's driving you to eat to increase your energy. And it can also, lack of sleep can also skewer your hunger signals, both to signal fullness and hunger. And if they're out of whack, you're going to probably eat more, and it's not going to be very conducive to your weight loss goal or how you feel and your mood and your energy. So having a regular bedtime is really going to be beneficial. The other really big win from Vicky is she has an extensive dieting history, and she now recognizes that taking small steps is so much better for her than having this all or nothing approach. And this is a really massive, huge win. I don't want to just skim over it, because many of my clients prior to coaching, and perhaps you listening, have always gone through your weight loss goal as being very all or nothing. You're either on it or you're off it. You're either on track or you're off track. You're either sticking to it or you're not sticking to it. And this all or nothing mentality actually slows down your progress, and it sets you further away from the goal that you really, really want. And when you accept that it does take time, set those expectations, have a bit of patience, and recognize that small steps might take longer, but at least you're moving in the right direction. So this is really positive, Vicky. A huge well done. Now, Sonia's felt a little unwell for a few days, which has obviously got her down, but she's picked herself up and she's got back into the gym and feels better for it. So a huge well done. She's also made changes to her meal quality. She's meeting her targets. and she ran for 8 minutes on the treadmill. I don't think she's run for ages. So a huge well done, Sonia. So I think that's all the wins for this week. Let's talk about some of the challenges because, like many of my clients, you listening may lead very busy lives. I lead a busy life. We all tend to lead busy lives. We're all doing multiple things in a day, looking after everyone, sometimes putting ourselves down the pecking order, not prioritizing ourselves. And this can be challenging, especially when you're working towards a health and weight loss goal, because getting done what needs to be done is going to support your goal, your health, and importantly, how you feel as a result. So, how do you find time to do all these things? How do you fit in steps, preparing meals, getting in those workouts, getting to the supermarket, doing all the things that you need to do to support your health? And I can't emphasize enough the importance of planning and scheduling. Now, you might think, oh, planning and scheduling, that's a bit over the top, isn't it? But it isn't. Because if it's not happening or you're having difficulty finding time, then planning and scheduling is going to help you set aside time that you're going to adhere to and stick to and stay accountable to. So I would always recommend reviewing your week ahead, right? You can do this on a Sunday evening or whenever it suits you. Look at your week ahead. Are you working from home? Are you working in the office? Do your kids have commitments? Do you have to be somewhere? Are you working additional hours? How does your week look? What have you got on? Where are you going to be? And how does that impact your time? The same way you would schedule time for a hair appointment or a nail appointment or the dentist, you need to do the same with your health and weight loss goals. Schedule time in for a walk, schedule time into exercise, schedule time to make sure you're eating your 3 meals a day, schedule time to do your workouts, whatever it is that you need to do. If you're not scheduling time for it, how do you expect it to happen? Because you don't want to just wish for it. You need to do it, and you need to set yourself up as much as possible to be able to do it. And this is where planning and scheduling comes in. Now, scheduling your week in advance may be quite difficult to do, but I would still do it to the very best of your ability. And then in the evening before, the day ahead, I would review your day. This is exactly what I do. I review my day. There might be changes. There might need to be adjustments to times. That's okay. I'm open to change, and I'm accepting that sometimes things have to happen at different times. And then I make those adjustments. And the following day, I follow my plan. I follow my schedule. I get things done, and I feel really accomplished. And you can do exactly the same. You also need to be open to trying things at different times. So, for example, if you're working a long day and you come home from work and it's 6:30 or later, and the thought of doing exercise in the evening just seems like so overwhelming, then think about, could you get up earlier and perhaps get it done before your day starts? And then it's done and it's dusted and it's out the way. And then you can just relax when you come in the evening. Or perhaps be open to change. You may not feel physically like you want to do that, or mentally like you want to do that workout at the end of a long day, but physically it's going to be the best thing for you, because you may be mentally and emotionally drained, but your body physically will be able to do that workout. And as a result, not only are you benefiting your health and your goal, you're going to feel better for it mentally. You will feel less tired. You will feel more energized. Your mood will also increase. So be open to trying things at different times. And I had a client, she no longer coaches with me. She was also a busy lady, just like the rest of us. And she used to get up for work. I think she was at her desk like at 7 o'clock in the morning. And she fed back to me once sort of we'd built a relationship and could speak more. She felt more comfortable to tell me how she felt about things I said. She said, "Do you remember that time you told me to get up 15 minutes earlier to fit a walk in before my working day?" She said to me, "I thought you were nuts. I thought you were unreasonable to ask me to do that. But now I couldn't imagine starting my day any other way than with a walk." And it's like a 10-minute walk she does. It's not like a huge long walk. She gets into work, she's in a great mood and she's more productive. And she gets much more work done in a much more efficient time than if she hadn't gone for that walk. But at first, she thought I was like crazy to expect or ask her to do that. Obviously, I never tell my clients when to do these things. It was a suggestion because I knew in the evenings, she had other things on. So, depending on you listening to this podcast and my clients, when you're busy, look at times and look at ways to be open to trying things at different times, see how it feels. And you'll notice that it is very doable what you first thought was not doable. Now, I'm going to give some specific examples because Rebecca is working full time and steps have been sometimes quite challenging for her to get in. But she set an intention this week to give herself 20 minutes after dinner to go out for a walk no matter what. And I'd love you to feed back to me next week, Rebecca, how you get on with that so that I can share it. Now, previously, this may have been something that was the bottom of the list for Rebecca to do. But now, with her time impacted so much with working full time, this may be her best option. So let us know how you get on with that. Now, Laura works a busy week. She has long shifts. She recognizes that when she comes in from a long day at work and there isn't food prepared to support her goal, it can be very challenging, and she recognizes that she needs to do more food prep. And again, she recognizes that, perhaps she needs to set aside time to do that. And I would absolutely recommend that. And that should be scheduled in and planned into your diary. It is a priority. It may take time to food prep, but it will save you time in the long term. And there is nothing better, there is no better feeling than coming in from a long day and saying to yourself, oh God, what am I going to eat? And then you remember you've got a meal ready and waiting. It just needs to be heated. It's a great feeling. So set aside that time and try and cook a couple of big meals. You can freeze half and portion the other half. Tara wants to fit in at least 2 workouts this week. She's been struggling to fit her workouts in around her busy life. And again, think about using your weekends when you're not working, and also perhaps, getting up earlier one morning. Remember the workouts, even if you don't do all 3 circuits or sets of your workouts, you can reduce that. Something is always better than nothing. Now, Stella is a full-time uni student. She's coming to the end of her degree course. Workload has intensified. Her time is spent long hours at uni doing all the work she needs to do. And she's struggling to get her steps in. Now, what I want to just put in here, Stella, is, and anyone struggling that's listening, is sometimes in life, we have to reprioritize our values and set our expectations accordingly. Now, it's not that your health and weight loss goal isn't important, because I know it is, but your uni work has just raised up the pecking order, and it is extremely important that you do this uni work. And it may just mean that your steps have to just take a lower importance, maybe this week, or until I know you're coming to the end. So it may not be forever. It might just be this coming week and the past week you've been through. Just be accepting of it and do your best to do as much movement as you can during the day. And don't underestimate those little things. So if you are desk bound and you're spending long periods at your computer, try and get up and down throughout the day. Don't make things easier. So, if you want to make yourself or get a drink, get the drink and then go separately to the toilet. Don't do them in one trip, split them into 2 trips. Think about, if you're walking to uni, or you're getting a train, or you're getting a lift in, don't get taken straight to the door. Try and have a little bit of a walk to get to uni, to get home from uni, and just do your best. But recognize that your uni work may have just gone up the pecking order, as it should, and it just may take priority for the moment. So set your expectations and accept that your steps may be a little bit lower, but you're going to do the best you can with everything that you're juggling. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is quality of the food that you're eating. And I'm going to tie it into weekend calories as well and sort of group them together, because some of my clients track their food, and you listening may track your food using the well-known tracking apps. Some of my clients don't track food. They use food photos or food diaries, and I support their nutrition choices via those methods. What's really important, particularly when you're tracking calories, is because you're trying to manage a calorie budget, sometimes your food choices may not be as nutritious as they could be, because you're trying to juggle fitting in the foods you want with the calorie allowance that you have. Now, primarily your calorie target, and most of my all my clients have a calorie range, so it's not a number they need to hit dead on the nose. They have a range target, so it's a range between a certain amount, a lower end, and a higher amount, and somewhere in the middle is their calorie target. But some days they may not want to eat, as they want to eat on the lower end of their range, and that's fine. And sometimes they need to eat the higher end of that range, and that's fine, because whether it's the lower end or the higher end, they are in a calorie deficit. Obviously, the lower end is a bigger deficit and the higher end is a smaller calorie deficit, but they are both deficit calories nonetheless. And sometimes dipping into those higher calories actually helps you adhere to the calorie target you have set, and realize that you're still within, you haven't ruined anything by being in those higher range calories. Now, it's really important to primarily hit your nutrition targets using your calories. Those nutrition targets that I specify are adding fruit or veg to every meal. So breakfast, if you're having a cereal breakfast or a porridge breakfast or something, a yogurt breakfast, the chances are you're going to be adding fruit to that breakfast. Or if you're having eggs or something like that and you're having a savory breakfast, you may add veg to that breakfast. And veg can be salad, veg, all types. It's really important that you're adding that. Now, some of you are not eating enough fruit. And I know those of you with dieting histories, and anyone listening, you may have been on various diets where like fruit is, oh my God, don't eat that fruit. It's high sugar, high calorie. Certain fruits may be, but fruit is very nutritious and it's very good for you. And there are an abundance of different types of fruit. Mix them up, have some variety, try some different fruits, add them to a protein snack. Eat fruit. You need to be aiming for at least 6 servings of vegetables or fruit per day. Obviously, I would encourage, if your goal is fat loss, to have more veg, but still include fruit. It is good for you. Once you've hit your 6 servings of fruit and veg, your other target, which is as important, if not more, is hitting your protein target. Your protein target is a daily target. It's not an average target. It's a daily target. And your protein target is split over your meals. So you're going to split your protein target into 3 meals and a snack. So you're having 4 servings of protein a day. Those of you tracking, you are aiming at the minimum 25 grams of protein in each of your meals, and make up in your snack the rest of your protein intake. If you are hitting your calories, but your protein is not on point, it's not where it needs to be, you need to be looking at the types of food that you're eating and be open to reducing certain food groups to be able to increase your protein target, but still stay within your calories. And a really easy and simple way of doing this, whether you're tracking or you're not tracking, is to just slightly reduce your carb portion and increase your protein. And that way, both protein and carbs are 4 calories for every gram. So just reducing your carbs and increasing your protein is a really simple way of increasing your protein, but still staying within your calorie target. So look at the types of foods, look at those higher calorie foods you might be choosing, look at where you can make smart swaps. It's not that you need to eat everything reduced or low fat, but it does make sense if your goal is fat loss, or be very selective where you're having those higher calorie foods and look at your portion size. Granola is a really big one and very common. Granola is flipping delicious, but it also comes in at a very high calorie. Notice how much you're putting on your yogurt or your cereal. You may want to reduce that amount so that you can increase your protein target. Now, when it comes to weekends, I hear a lot from ladies that are coaching with me initially until they know better, and ladies that are not coaching but contact me for help or listen to my podcast. And that is that they're good all week and then ruin their weekends. They ruin their goal over the weekends. And what my initial reaction is being good all week tends to mean you've eaten really low calories. And so by the time the weekend comes, you're feeling a little bit more relaxed. Your routine has changed. Your structure is not the same as during the week. You've saved foods from not eating them during the week for the weekend, and you're more likely going to overeat on them. As a result, you don't track them because you perceive you've ruined everything. And then one poor choice or one extra something then leads to a succession of more choices that don't support your goal, and a spiral of getting out of control because you perceive you've ruined things. And if you put your logical mind intact, if you pulled over to the side of the road because your car had a puncture, one of your tires had a puncture, would you think, oh, I need to call the recovery, the RAC man? I know, I'll just stab my other 3 tires to make it worth it. You wouldn't do that. So why do you do that with your food choices? So what that you had one extra drink or one extra biscuit or one whatever it was? Thinking you've ruined things, so you may as well really ruin things, is really going to ruin things and set your progress back. So just accept it, draw a line, move on. Keep tracking as well, because sometimes you think you've ruined something, and when you enter it into your tracking app, you're like, oh, it's not so bad. And actually, I'm still within my calories. And if I tweak my next meal, I'm going to be banging my calorie range. So getting a bit more expectations of your weekend, not just saving foods for the weekend, incorporate them during the week. Making sure that overall your diet is 80% whole food, nutritious foods, with 20% being a little bit of what you fancy. And therefore, it takes this emphasis away on these certain foods when it comes to the weekends. And then very quickly, before I answer questions, which I'm going to talk about periods and weight loss / weight gain and people who try to sabotage your results, I'm just going to really touch very quickly on tracking accuracy. Remember to track and weigh everything and make sure that your tracking represents what you're actually weighing when it comes to cooked versus raw. Now, I've been asked a question about periods and the effect it has on weight loss and weight gain. Now, you need to remember that we are all individual. Yes, women have a menstrual cycle, obviously, unless there's health risks involved. But generally speaking, women have a menstrual cycle, and it is, it involves changes in your hormones, fluctuations in estrogen. And as a result, depending on the phase of your cycle, can increase your food cravings, can also fluctuate your weight on the scale due to water retention. And my clients weigh themselves regularly. And when you're on your period or at certain times in your cycle, learning when your body weight fluctuates is really educational and flips things on its head when it comes to taking scale weight, as opposed to reacting, oh my God, my scale weight's fluctuated. What I'm doing isn't working. I'm going to throw the towel in. Instead, you'll see, oh yeah, my scale weight fluctuates always at this time of the month. I know it comes back down again, and I'm just going to carry on as normal. And so it's really important to remember that your scale weight fluctuations are not representative of fat loss, weight gain, fat gain, weight gain, whatever you want to call it. It is most likely water. Now, if you are experiencing cravings, remember you have an upper end to your calorie range. Use it if you need it, and then you'll be able to increase your calories to satisfy the cravings that you're having, and you'll still be in a deficit, but it's done in a much more structured way. Now, how do you deal with a saboteur who thinks they're being kind? For example, my husband says, don't exhaust yourself. So I'm presuming, I can't remember who asked this. I'm sorry, I've not put a name here. But a partner is always going to have your best interests at heart, hopefully. And if you've been experienced fatigue or tiredness because you're putting in a lot of effort into supporting your health and your goal, obviously your partner wants you to feel good and not feel too tired. And obviously, if your tiredness is really extreme, you need to be talking to me in our community chat so that I can support you further. But as a general thing, when it comes to people that sabotage, and I also hear a lot from my clients where friends start to notice changes, when clients start losing weight, and sometimes friends can feel funny about seeing people make positive changes. And although, you know, they are your friend and they do have your best interests at heart, sometimes it can cause them to self-reflect and perhaps question their own choices. And sometimes, if they're not happy with those choices or where they're at in their health and weight, sometimes they can sabotage yours. And, you know, by saying, just go and have one more, or whatever they may say. And this is where it's really important to know your values, your goals, and what's important to you. And you can decide and make decisions for yourself and not be influenced by others. It's really about knowing what's important to you. And it comes down to those values and goals. If your health is a really high up value, which it is because you're here coaching with me, then know what you want to do and stay true to yourself because it matters to you. And, you know, improving your health and losing weight, it does take effort. And celebrate that you're putting in effort, because there are a lot of people who aren't and don't want to put in effort. And they're looking for these quick fix methods that don't work because they're not ready to put the effort in. So celebrate that you're putting the effort in and know your goals and know your values. Finishing off, this is a long one. I like to keep these no more than half an hour, but some of the feedback I've had about coaching and what they're finding from coaching is that, you know, clients are feeling encouraging to make changes, that they're making changes, and they're feeling that they've got the tools to be able to continue making changes. Benefits to mental health, recognizing that there's less emotional eating taking place. I support my clients with this, with education. And yes, that's really important. And yeah, lots of positives. The community, the support from me as their coach, and the community is really benefiting them. And the community support in particular this week, as we're all getting to know each other, has been bang on. And it really makes the difference between someone throwing the towel in and giving up or carrying on. If you're listening to this and you want to take part in my next group coaching, contact me through any of my social media or contact details in the show notes. And to my clients, well done on reaching halfway. You're doing a great job, and I'll catch up with you all soon. Have a great rest of your day.